Welcome to Season 4, Episode number 3 of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our livery reaction and scoring of them episode. You've got Andy. I'm along with James. And we have a special guest joining us once again, Mr. Vincenzo Landino. Welcome back, sir. It's good to see you sporting the F1 official Miami. I love the fact you're promoting it.
I gotta promote it. It's only an hour from me. I feel like I have to give the F1 Miami race a little bit of love. Yeah, thanks for having me for this episode. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, just remind us again where we can kind of find you and your content. I've seen you all over Twitter recently. It's been really good stuff.
Yeah,
killing
at Vincenzo Landino on Twitter. That's it. That's the place to find me. You'll be able to link to my newsletter, my Formula One business newsletter, But yeah, Twitter's most likely where you're going to hear me or see me talking nonstop.
And I don't have the app. I don't understand how it works, but I do see you posting some TikToks on Twitter. So
I've been posting TikToks, man. I've been doing some TikTok. I'll tell you, it's pretty powerful stuff over there.
I'm still waiting for you to break out in a dance while you're doing it, but I thought that was a whole TikTok thing, but maybe not, huh?
Nah, maybe a lip sync or something. Maybe I'll do a lip sync for you, but that's as far as you're gonna go with me.
They tell me that's where all the kids are, but maybe I'm too old for that.
If Ferrari wins in Miami, I better see you dancing.
All right, Ferrari, deal.
Record
it
first, folks.
Post it.
I'm on a hot streak on my bets on this podcast, so be prepared.
You know what? If that's a bet that I have to lose, I'm more than happy. I still win.
Hell yeah.
All right. You heard it here first, folks, like I said. So you can find our show on, we're not on TikTok yet, but we are on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and YouTube at Outlap F1 Podcast. You can find our link tree on our Twitter page, and that will take you to all the appropriate places. If you are watching on YouTube, please do us a solid, click the like and subscribe button. Or if you're on your favorite podcasting app, please do us a favor and leave a 5-star review, particularly for Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It just helps us get our content to you that much quicker. You can email our show at chatnow@outlapf1.com. You can find our wonderful website, www.outlapf1.com. We will probably be recording this next week, our 2022 F1 for beginners. So please stand by and be ready to check that out. Also, a reminder, she's not here tonight. She's basically doing our correspondent work out in St. Petersburg, covering the IndyCar race. Deanna, you can check out her relap page. She's got her way too early 2022 predictions episode up and out, and it's looking very promising at this stage of the game.
Yes, sir.
James, you said something?
No, I was just saying, yes, sir. Makes me excited just thinking about
I think James is on board with Deanna's predictions. Just as a reminder, Outlap F1 Nation continues to step up. I did get a chance to DM with Mr. Jonathan Scott. He did clarify he's not the hockey player, but unfortunately. But thank you very much, Jonathan, once again for becoming a monthly contributor. And again, special thank you to everyone who is continuing to contribute, that being Cody Walsh, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzek, Richard Cole, Travis Colby, Timothy Brown, Hillary Rose, Mary Brown, and of course, Matt Polanski from the Red Sector MotoGP podcast. If you would like to become a member of the Outlap F1 Nation, and I think we've changed our tactic. We're going for a little Outlap sticker on hopefully the new Andretti car when it comes out, so that we can point to it and go, hey, that's us. So you can promote you can go to our anchor page, $1, $5, whatever, as you hopefully have all seen. It all goes into the show, and we're proud to make improvements as we can. Just also, lastly, reminder, we do still have the promotion with Manscaped. Please do take advantage, get the 20% off, get the free shipping with our code OUTLAP. That is OUTLAP, all one word. Woo! So tonight we are ranking, as we've now officially seen, even as of this morning, all 10 teams with all 10 liveries. Our liveries, our reactions to them. We've seen the cars, or we haven't seen the cars. We've seen there has been an F1 test. I've been following the text streams all of course of last week, and also not sleeping a whole lot. But I will try to give a little bit of a recap of what I read and what I've kind of listened to and dug up on each team as we kind of go through them. James, why don't you tell us about how we're going to score the liveries?
Yeah, I'll get into that, Andy. Just real quick shout out to you, sir, holding it down for us on the Twitter feeds for us all throughout the first 3 days of practice. You're a machine, sir, and I envy you. I appreciate you. So thank you for taking care of that and getting that out to all those wonderful people that listen to the podcast. So thank you, Andy.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, very informative as always. Nothing but the best coming from our guy, Andy. Okay, so for tonight, we're going to talk about all 10 teams. We're going to talk about their liveries. We've kind of judged them on a 1 through 10 scale. At the end, we'll compile all those for an average and come out with the gold medal winner, the silver, and the bronze as far as liveries go. So a couple of things we're going to take into account will obviously be the originality of the livery, how that livery enhances the car design's philosophy or the car's design philosophy, and then kind of like what our overall score is, taking those things into account. So pretty excited to get into it, and I think I'm ready, Andy.
Yeah, just before we kind of get started, we do have one quick disclaimer. The Haas F1 team will get a very much an incomplete score given the events of the day and the events going around that team. We don't really know what that car is actually going to look like if and when it turns up in Bahrain. So we're just going to kind of hold that kind of in abeyance at this point. So our first team on the docket will be the Alfa Romeo. And I would say of all 10 teams, they were the ones that probably struggled the most in the tests, had a lot of reliability problems. Valtteri Bottas did not do many laps. And when they did get out, it wasn't particularly quick. So doesn't look like they've come out of the box running, but obviously still very much early days. They unveiled their livery actually this morning. Looks pretty cool if you ask me, but so how do we want to do this? Do we want to just go 1, 2, 3, hold up a number, or?
Well, I guess what I'd say about the Alfa Romeo right off the top here, first of all, they came out of the gate swinging. I thought the camo livery that they used for testing, I thought was really badass. The merch that came along with it was awesome in my opinion. I think it was a hoodie that Bottas was wearing on like the first or second day. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I could definitely wear one of those. And then when the actual livery came out today, I'm super impressed. And I love what they did with the wheel cap covers. I think those look really, really cool, and something that I hope maybe some other teams steal from them with their own colors, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I like anything red, so yeah, that makes me happy. It's I'm looking at it over here. I love how much Alfa Romeo incorporates the Italian flag onto their liveries. So that to me was is always a nice touch. It was interesting. I'm still trying to figure out if I love how they wrote out Alfa Romeo.
I was going to ask you about that. I love the script look. I think the font looks awesome.
I think it looks great. I'm trying to decide if I love it just looks like they could have wrote Alpha or something. But I like it. I just don't know exactly how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. They also have Alfa Romeo on the rear wing from the back. I don't know if that's going to stay there. I don't. Again, we don't really know if this is the car. Everyone else kind of got a chance to change things up from the time they, launched the livery to the time they put it on the car, because most of the cars were different by that point anyway. So I think it looks hot. It's a good looking car. They kind of went with that red and black, but they added more white than Ferrari did. So yeah, I don't know. It's a sexy looking. It's a really good looking car.
Yeah, the back of the rear wing in the Italian flag, I think, looks really cool. Super nice touch. And then
Absolutely.
Just a little bit of green with the clover leaf logo.
Always perfect.
Where it's Alpha, and it looks really good.
Very much a non-matte finish. This thing will actually sparkle. I think at nighttime under floodlights, this is going to look really, really cool. I can't wait to see.
But if they're in the back of the pack, I don't know if it'll matter.
Yeah. Well, it'll get on camera when it gets lapped.
How are we ranking these?
Well, I guess real quick we'll go over Deanna. So she down in St. Petersburg for the IndyCar race today. So she kind of just sent in some of her high level thoughts on each of them. And her ranking, she ranked them 1 through 10. So she actually gave Alfa Romeo 3rd place overall with the comments, another nice old school look. This is here just because of the font they used for the Alfa Romeo. So she clearly a fan in the top 3 for her.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'm ready to hold up a score if you guys are.
Are we giving an overall score, or are we doing like
We'll do
multi
overall. Yeah.
faceted? Okay.
Okay. You get me.
Are we going 1, 2, 3, holding them up, or what are we doing here?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Ready, Andy?
Yep.
Count us down.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
2 8s and a 9.
Yeah.
Andy,
I
love
mean,
it.
it's a hot looking car. It's a hot looking car. The kit, I'm with you, James. I think the kit, the camo kit is amazing.
Yeah.
I would buy one of those.
Yeah.
And just this, I mean, it's sad that it's probably going to be at the back because it certainly looks the part. But they have some issues that they have to get on top of, and I hope they kind of can, because it would be interesting to see Bottas and Guanyu Zhao be able to do something with what looks like a really damn cool car. All right, moving on. The next team on our docket is AlphaTauri. And the AlphaTauri, their test, for the most part, I think, had a bit of some teething issues with the car. I mean, they weren't as bad as the last few teams kind of on the grid, but they weren't necessarily great. Not huge highlight in a matter of times. Pierre Gasly, I think, had a wreck on day 3, which really limited the amount of running that they could do. So yeah, probably wanted more mileage out of it more than anything else, but definitely still has some qualifying pace. I think that same test at day 3, Gasly for at least in the morning session when he was running, was up in P2. So looks like the qualifying pace is still there. We're still kind of interested in kind of what their race pace is. James, thoughts on AlphaTauri?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really too far out there. It's kind of just like a color swap of their setup last year. Not to say that's totally bad. I do enjoy those colors together. I like that shade of blue. I think it looks cool. It's nice. It's flowing. I think it's going to look pretty cool on track. But overall, I'd say they didn't really take any risks, I feel like. It's just kind of what was expected. I don't hate it, but I'm not like in love with it. And there's no red, so I know Vincenzo's not going to like it.
There's no red, so it's already kind of a loss there. But I actually think it's a good looking car. Like if that car was sitting in front of me right now without any of the other cars and liveries, I would say, wow, that's a nice looking car. Mm-hmm. But again, just like you said, the risk, it just feels like they pushed AlphaTauri on the side and on the front wing, it's AlphaTauri. They're pushing the whole like mind and body or whatever they wrote on it. I don't know. And so I kind of look at it. I'm like, all right, well, it just screams AlphaTauri everywhere, which is great, but show me something else. Right. And, it's a good looking car. I do think it's a good looking car. It just felt like, give me something else to make it stand out. Again, I don't think it stands out in a pack at all.
Yeah. I think in the renders that we have here in our agenda, it's like those, and I don't know if they'll keep them. Maybe this will change up, but like the square-ish, rectangle-ish looking openings for the side pods, just something about those kind of throws me off, and I don't know. I just can't really get along with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, one of the features that all the cars have kind of been able to take some liberty with has been kind of side pod design. Yeah. It's all kind of related to the cooling and how each team wants to cool off the radiator and stuff and work the airflow through. Yeah, I mean, from the front, it doesn't exactly look all that great or aesthetically pleasing. From the side, it doesn't look too bad. It definitely looks like an aero pretty efficient car, I would say, kind of overall. Be interesting to see kind of how they develop and if they can develop throughout the rest of the season. So are we ready to score the AlphaTauris?
Real quick before we do that, I'll just mention that Deanna has them ranked 8th out of 10. She says, also fine, but getting sick of the navy and white. Bring back Toro Rosso.
I don't disagree with her. All right.
All right, I am ready.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh, 6, 6, and 4.
2 6s and a 4.
Yeah, I mean, kind
Damn,
of middle of the pack for me. And for me, it's I'd say 6, but like a little bit higher of a 6 because there's another one that I've got a 6 on, and that'll be the lower one, but I'll get into that later.
It's hard to say. Like it's I still struggle with. Like I'm looking at it here. I've got it next to me. I'm like, I struggle with saying it's a bad looking car. Actually, the third photo we have in the agenda here, where it's on track, I actually hate it more. Because I'm like, I feel like you can't, there's like no distinguishing feature about it where you're looking at it and saying, oh yeah, I know that's the Alpha Tower, right? Like that's where, so I think looking at it on track is almost different than just the livery. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer the white over the blue versus the blue over the white. I think if you were to flip those, I think it would look a lot better.
I think last year's probably looked better overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with them.
Maybe they'll have a home and away kit.
Speaking of home and away, our next team on the docket has basically gone with that concept. That would be the Alpines. Alpine and their test was one of a bit of a struggle. Fernando Alonso had a very fiery engine failure on day 3, leading him to be looking at people extinguishing the car. He looked very forlorn. We've seen this Fernando at Barcelona testing before. They also had an issue where they couldn't run DRS, or they didn't want to run DRS. So that's interesting, given the fact that these are all new rear wings. Are they having actuator issues? And that kind of hindered kind of their lap times. They have kind of stated that they're going for performance over reliability. Obviously, I think we've seen that over the course of the first 3 days. So interesting way to go. Is this really L Plan, or have they hijacked L Plan and no one forgot to tell Fernando one more time? Livery wise, they have literally kind of done a home and away. Obviously, this is where BWT went. So therefore, here comes the pink color that's very, very distinctive. The blue on top of the pink, and then there's going to, for the first couple of races, they will run the pink on top of the blue. James, thoughts on Alpine as you see it?
So this one took a little bit of chewing. When I first saw it, I was pretty turned off. I actually liked the Alpine livery last year. I thought the colors looked cool, red, white, and blue. Shocker, I know. But then throwing the pink on this year, at first I was like, ugh. But then the more I saw it, I'm like, that's actually pretty dope. The mainly pink one, not as big of a fan of, but the one they're going to use for the last 20 races or whatever it's going to be, I think is really, really cool. I think in the professional shots, it looks nice and shiny and extra cool on track, dulled down a little bit. So I wonder if under the floodlights, it's really going to pop and look super cool. But yeah, I mean, overall, surprisingly big fan of this. Did not expect that at all. Here's one that I feel like took more chances, and I appreciate them for that.
100% in agreement with the chances. I feel like it's a bold. Here's the thing, and I've talked to a lot of livery designers over the past couple months. I've spent a lot of time talking to the livery designers that have not only did concepts but actually worked on some of the cars we're talking about. And when a sponsor like a BWT with a very distinguished color where they're not giving on that color, you almost feel for the designer at that point. Like, okay, I have to now incorporate this into the color scheme of our car without completely losing our identity and still making all the other sponsors happy. And I think they've done that. You've got the map-free logo in red, which was probably a choice they had to make. So you've got a red logo on there, you got a blue car, and then you've got the pink from BWT. I love how they decided, you know what, we're not going to hide it. We're not going to kind of like tone it down. We're going to make it big, bold, and pink where we have to. I liked it from the get-go. I didn't like you, James, I didn't like the all pink one at first. That one actually kind of grew on me because I think that if they run that car, it's so noticeable on track.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Like you look at that car on track and you say, I know exactly which car, like there's no doubt about which car it is. And it's so like great for BWT. So I'm a big fan of this. Although I don't know if this car might be another one of those great looking ones in the back of the pack this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, if I know when they had the launch, they brought out, I think, the CEO of BWT, and boy, is he all about the pink. So you're absolutely right, Vincenzo. They were not going to compromise.
There's no compromise. Yep.
So they give them money, therefore we make a car pink, and it's just kind of that simple. So I actually thought the one that leaked, and here's another thing, like all of these were leaking like as the launches were going on. I don't understand why people felt the need to continue to do that. So everybody leaked the pink car, and then everyone was really pleasantly surprised when this wasn't the full pink car. So I think overall, I think this was the best job that they probably could have done given the constraints that they had. I kind of agree
100%.
And good call out on the leaks, Andy. Like we've gotten to the point where like everybody feels like they got to be the one that breaks the news to people, and then it's just now just like ruin it for the masses, kind of. And like I just wish we could get away from that, but I know it's never going to change.
Oh yeah, and
like,
then we look dumb because
the scoop and
then it makes us look like we're not on the ball because we're not doing that. Well, I'm only doing what I can trust.
Yeah.
And I trust what the teams actually share. And a lot of people looked, I think, kind of had some egg on their face when they said, "Oh, it's the pink car." No, it's not the pink car. Oh, but it kind of is the pink car.
Yeah.
I mean, there seemed to be a lot of that this year with needing to break things and needing to be just like, let's leak this. Let's make sure we leak. I know that we'll talk about another leak later, I'm sure, but it's almost as if, why not? Why can't we just wait and enjoy what we want to like? They're hyping it up.
I mean, let the lasers. It got a little weird. They had the dancers show up again. Fine. Let them do that. Let them have their moment in the sun. I mean, that's what we're all here for.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So before we show our scores, Deanna has Alpine ranked 9th out of 10. She says, "I love a pink car, but not at the expense of an amazing livery. I hate it because of what the Alpine livery could be." Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, Deanna.
Throwing
don't agree
shade
with
at
that
Alpine.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready?
Count down, Andy. Count us down.
In 3, 2, 1. Hey, Roy. We have not calibrated these, by the way, at all.
I was so close to giving it an 8, but then I would have had like a 3-way tie. So I was like, just a hair below 8 for me with the Alpine.
I have multiple cars to get same numbers. I have
just
2 cars
3 at 8. I've already got 2 at 8. So
all right. Fine.
Yeah.
Hey, score however you want to score. The numbers will decide later.
This will make it hard for Andy to do the math. So it's just.
I'm pretty sure he's just writing down 8.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one, Andy. Who we got?
All right, our next contestant, Aston Martin, who have come out with a. They were actually the first team to show their actual car in their reveal, and I think everybody went to town on looking at what a 2022 car actually was going to look like. Their test, they definitely made a step from last year. I think on pace and in relative reliability. The only hindrance that they had was on day 3. They had another, and it wasn't quite as bad as the Alpine one, but they had an engine fire right at the end of the morning session. We got to see fireman Seb come out and put the car out himself, basically shooing all of the marshals away. And that basically led to them not being able to get back out on day 3. But their first 2 days, I think, were pretty solid, able to run some different run plans, get on top of some stuff. I would say at this point, I think they're solidly in the midfield, whereas last year they were kind of on the lower end of it. So I think on their day, they could be up as high as maybe 5th or 6th. On their worst day, they could be low as 13th, 14th. So, and that is just given on the 3 days that we, like I said, we didn't see, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, so I'd say, when Aston kind of released their livery, it was the first one where we saw a car and we were like, holy shit, I think everybody's going to be super different. And started getting me really exciting because their side pods are interesting, to say the least. They seem to have gone a crazy direction, but we'll see how much of that sticks after this next test and going into the season. But as far as the actual livery goes, it's not red. but it is awesome. I'm a big time fan of it. I just I wish they had better drivers for me to get a little bit more behind the car, but I just can't totally get on board with Aston Martin. But maybe the next generation of drivers there, I'll really be hopping along as long as the car looks this good, because just huge fan.
Yeah, there's really not much to say other than it's a good looking. This is a very good looking car.
Yeah.
The green, it looks sharp all around, head to toe.
So much better.
Front wing to rear wing. It is a good looking car. And this was, you're right, this was like the first livery that dropped that. I should correct. Now I'm forgetting. Did they showed the real car, right?
They
during
did.
Their livery drop. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
So they showed us a real car.
I think they were the first to show the actual car.
Correct.
They were, yeah. They also, I liked what Aston Martin, just a kind of hat tip to Aston Martin, they did a really good job with inviting a lot of content creators from the UK, specifically TikTokers, out there to kind of cover and create hype. So kudos to them for actually trying something different. But they also gave us a really nice car, right? So they didn't create a lot of buzz without showing something that was worthwhile. Like it's every bit of it's James Bond worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I would call this very much a meat and potatoes type of car design. I think the most innovative thing is what they've done with the cooling, with the vents on kind of on the side pods. What that enables them, at least what I believe what they're trying to push for, is they've gone with that size zero concept at the back. So they're hoping to get some rear downforce from that. Their floor design looks pretty cool. Their front wing design, it sits a little higher than some of the other cars that I've seen. But it's innovative. It's definitely the right color. I mean, my gosh, we're not gonna mistake this for a black Mercedes next year or this season, because they've nailed, I think, the color scheme, the line, the little yellow touches and all that. It just all works. It all flows. I'm very high on the livery.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome, and it's going to look really good whether it's pointed straight down track or Seb's just spinning it around and around and around. It just looks good.
It's going to be. I'm curious to see how those, how their side pod and that whole design there works out for them. But it looks good too. It like looks part of the livery. Like if you're looking at it, you're like, ooh, that makes it look really like extra badass. So
that's like something I'm super excited for with this season. One is like how different the cars look physically, not just the livery, obviously. That's been super nice to see. And then to be able to watch the development throughout the course of the season, I think that's going to be really good and really present and kind of out there with these like show and tell things on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's really going to engage like the newer fans to kind of show them like, hey, you saw this top layer excitement, but like you peel back a little bit and now this is what you get. You peel back some more, here's some even more stuff. It's like really get deep into F1, be as addicted as the three of us and the rest of them on the show. So I think it's just an awesome step.
Yeah, and I did get a chance to see a picture of it in its garage. It looks just as cool in the garage as out on track or even the professional rendering. So
such a good car.
The color is just amazing, and it just screams. Reminds me of the old Jaguar days, and it just goes, I love it. All right,
so Deanna has this one ranked real high, second place out of her top 10 by the absolute slimmest of margins. Aston Martin in second. We finally have lime green. She's excited about that. And Seb back with the most beautiful helmet in existence. So bold claim there. Thanks to BWT for leaving, even if it was to commit that travesty over at Alpine.
Bit of addition by subtraction, if you ask Deanna on that one.
Man. Taking some shots.
All right. To the scoring. In 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, first
10. We almost synced up.
I swear we didn't calibrate this. I swear to God.
First 10 of the night.
Yeah, I don't know what else you can ask for.
That's your favorite?
If there was red on this car, it would have been a 10.
Yeah.
That's your favorite car then, Andy?
Of the liveries, absolutely. Yes.
All right. Well, it goes downhill from here. It goes downhill from here.
All right, so we are kind of coming up a bit. We're probably at the point where we probably should take a break. So we're going to do that. We'll re-rack. We will get into the next bit of teams and the next bit of kit. So come on back. All All right, welcome back to Season 4, Episode 3 of the Outlap F1 podcast. We are reacting to all of the 2022 cars and their liveries and kind of how they fared at the first test. You've got Andy along with James and our special guest, once again, Vincenzo Landino. And we are now going to turn to where James and Vincenzo, I don't think we really need to even talk scores on this next one. We have gone into the Scuderia Ferrari. As far as their test goes, came out of the box pretty much with flying colors. Pretty much anything they wanted to do, they were able to do. They were near the top of the timesheets pretty much every day. The only issue that I saw is they had a bit of that porpoising issue with especially down the straight. But it looks like, according to some press releases already, it looks like they were already working on solutions for that, if they can get that nailed down. Car looked very reliable. Like I said, any sort of run plan they wanted to do, they were able to do. Didn't feel the need to do a glory run at the end of the third day, which I think is actually significant. So, yeah, if you're a Ferrari fan, be excited at least from the first 3 days is my somewhat expert assessment on that.
As the gracious host that I am, I'm going to hand it off to Vincenzo.
This side pods, they're the only ones with these side pods, right? These crazy, like, bathtub side pods, which it looks good. They've got this very wide, it feels like this car just takes its position on the track. You look at it from any angle, and there is nothing unsexy about this car. There's from the black. At first, I was like, it would have been nice to have maybe a little bit of white or some more yellow, like touches. Nah, because I love the 641, 642, 643 are like my favorite top 2, 3 favorite Ferraris of all time. And so I thought at first, I was like, okay, maybe if they do this. But then when they launched it and they released it, I was like, this is just shower me with this car if you can. Like everything about it feels passionate, which some of the past couple, the past few cars haven't felt. When I say passionate, just like something about the color, something about the way the car sits. This delivers that little bit of like a darker red. It's not necessarily Rosso Corsa, but it's like it just fits with the black, with the logos. That everything blends perfectly. And speaking to testing real quick, if you don't mind, Andy, like I'm excited. The reliability felt good. The speed felt great. I feel like they've probably got the best 1-2 on the track. Like if you combine both drivers, they've got the best package. Where I'm concerned, and I don't want to get too excited, is did they focus so much in 2021 on this car and then it stops here with development for the year, right? Like, are we at the peak right now? And we know Red Bull and Mercedes are gonna iterate all year long. So that's where I'm trying not to get too excited, but the car is just absolutely gorgeous from every single angle. I don't know if you guys were following a lot of like the photos they were putting out and all over social media. I mean, every shot of that car coming in and out of the garage, going down the track, it was just like my jaw would fall every time seeing it. And I haven't done that with a Ferrari since I first started watching the sport in the 90s. So it's like, this is cool. This is a good vibe. This is a good feeling. I just hope it just lasts the whole damn season.
I have to echo pretty much all those sentiments. Like, I just love this car. Like, jaw-dropping, just sexy. And there's really no better way to put it. I think they nailed the shade of red. It looks so good. And just those side pods, it's like the first thing you focus in on, and it just makes sense. I'm really hoping that philosophy plays, which it looks like it will, because I want them to continue to develop it further down that path. Because I think it looks a lot better than like what, as far as the physical structure, looks a lot better than the Aston Martin. I didn't really look how those side pods play from a top angle, but I don't know if they could have done better than this. Honestly, like I couldn't have asked for more. The amount of black is just like perfect. I knew the fear of like the not enough white, and I guess I could see that to an extent, but I think it just looks meaner and a little like angrier with the black. and just the right amount of yellow too. It's just mwah, so well done. And with the testing stuff, hype trains at it's like a bullet. It's a bullet train, and it's going fast, and I can't slow it down. I don't want to slow it down. Andy, you're a Chicago sports fan like myself, born and raised. So I know what it's like to have really high hopes before a season starts and then just have my soul crushed.
It's every Bears season.
Yeah. You know what? I'm here to get hurt again, baby. And I don't care. I'm getting hype about it, and I think there's a real chance that Ferrari makes some noise this year. I can't wait. Just 2 more weeks.
As the resident McLaren fan of the podcast tonight, I'm taking a quote from the Ford versus Ferrari movie when I look at this car, and I just say, if this was a beauty contest, we just lost, meaning McLaren against Ferrari. Because as a beauty contest, this car rocks. I agree. There isn't really anything about it that looks out of place. The livery is right. The color, they ditched the Comic Sans on the numbering, so the numbering looks good. And the colors just seem to work in any sort of lighting and any sort of situation on the track. So it looks sexy. It looks to be pretty quick. We'll just have to see. I mean, it is something that just wets your mouth and goes, okay, is it going to last throughout the whole season? Can they come out and make some swings early? Because they could be that third team in the mix for the Constructors' Championship this season. There's no doubt about it.
They got me real close to spending $150 on a hoodie. I tell you what, I'm like,
I've never wanted to look like a McDonald's worker in my life until they put Carlos and Charles.
That's about the
in
only
that.
Negative is maybe the stripe on the driver.
I think it definitely looks awkward because the shell logo that sits there and the way they had to block it. But again, brands kind of making things a pain in the ass because of the way they need. But other than that, I actually don't mind the black stripe. If you look at maybe it's the actual race suits, the shell logo is not on the black on the race suit. It's below it, and it looks way better than those polos they were wearing that have.
I think I definitely got to cop one of those hats though. The hats I think this year look pretty slick too.
Everything looks so sharp.
Yeah. Damn you, Formula One, expensive sport to be a fan of.
It's okay. It's all right. Doesn't matter. For Scuderia, I don't care what it costs.
And so to go to Deanna's thoughts, right in line with us, she is just all in on Ferrari this year, Andy. I'm starting to worry about our girl. She has Ferrari in first place out of 10 for the first time in years. Ferrari gets something right. See, she's got to throw that little hit.
Yeah, that's all right.
Whatever, it's fine.
It's a weak jab.
To continue, she says, all they had to do was paint it red and slap some sponsors on it. They did it, and it's beautiful. Plain simple and with shades of the 641, like you mentioned before, Vincenzo. Anything that resembles an early 90s car is a win for me. I'm with you, Deanna. This thing is sweet.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll probably know where the scores are going, but we'll count it down.
Oh, you're the wild card here,
I'm
Andy.
the wild card? All right. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, boo.
So,
wait, what's this
9.9
bullshit for?
My only disclaimer is that when it's at the front of the grid, it's a 10. If not, it's a 9.9.
Fair.
Right, so
it's a 10 for me no matter
means
what.
It's fast, too.
I mean, testing showed that it's quick.
I know. They didn't even have to use the C5s. I mean, come on.
It's a quick car. It's a great car.
All right. Turning now to the defending Constructors champions. That would be the Mercedes Works team. Their test first couple days I didn't think were all that great. Did have actually some bit of reliability issues. Third test day, they came out and decided to show kind of what they had. I think that was kind of the narrative that came out. They did do a C5 run late. LewisHamilton did set the fastest overall test time. So low 119. There were a couple of laps that he could have done it. He put the whole lap together that looked like, according to some simulations I saw, it could have been in the 118s, which is, of course, slower than last year's pole time. But, again, this is the first test. It's the first running. You're not expecting them to blow the lap times away in the first test. But George Russell did come out and say at the end of the second day he thought that Mercedes were behind both McLaren and Ferrari. So that was kind of a significant comment there. I do they have gone back to their traditional silver livery with the Petronas blue once again. Yeah, I mean, they're a team that I still think has got some development issues that they want to work out, because I don't know how quickly they were able to turn to the 22 car, given how late the championship went last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like they'll have a completely different car in a couple weeks from now in Bahrain. So,
which is scary.
Yeah,
which is scary.
Yeah, clearly George Russell went through sandbagging 101 in his time already in Mercedes. He knows how to say the right things and downplay the car. Overall, not impressed. I had heard that rumors that they were going to go back to the silver arrow look, and right away I got kind of disappointed. I really liked the black liveries. The silver just doesn't do it for me. I think that shade of blue is pretty cool. It can be really cool. I think it looks good on Vincenzo's shirt right now. But on the car with the silver, I don't know. I wish there was more black. And then just like the random pop of red for the Ineos. I don't know. Overall, it just does not do it for me. It's going to look really good in Ferrari's mirrors. But besides that, I think it looks not that great.
Yeah, there's really not much to say. I mean, the black was such a good, and I'm not a Mercedes fan, and the black was such a good looking car, right? Yeah. Something about the way it looks too, like the silver just looks kind of out of place. It just looks out of place in the car. I think it actually takes away from the blue, because the blue is cool, and could, realistically, I would have rather had the entire car silver with just the pops of blue. Like that might have been, because I felt like they still tried to keep just enough black, but I was like, it's not enough black to actually make it cool. But you know what? Here's the thing. They're going to end up being a fast car, which I think we have to accept that. And we know they're going to do well. So for that fact alone, it's fine. At this point, you've won however many constructors championships in a row. You can kind of, you know what? Mail it in a little bit here. I think I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I don't, there's nothing about the car I like physically from the looks of it.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a feel of kind of an unfinished product, I think, at this point. And I think that, you guys both saying they're probably going to have a much different looking car come the next test. It did look like there's some components, like the front nose just doesn't seem to play. Like even with the renderings, it just doesn't look like it's the same part when you actually see it on track. But, I mean, the Petronas, the shade of the teal, I think is fine. I agree with you guys. I would have much preferred that they just kept the black. Branding aside, team color aside, the black just worked. The black with that blue. I mean, if you take out the silver and make it black, where you see it on that car, it would pop. Just as good as an Aston Martin and maybe just as good as a Ferrari on that. But
I
with
agree.
respect to that, I think they went backwards a little bit on the livery side of things.
Also, why change what's working? I mean, you've had the absolute fastest car on the track for however many, 3-4 years in a row, where it's been the absolute fastest car on the track. Don't change it. That's what I love about Ferrari. It's red. It's like that's the car. Like, just stick to what's working. Whatever.
Yeah. Deanna's kind of there with us. She's got Mercedes ranked 6th out of 10.
Too
high. She says fine, but the black liveries are far superior. So right in line with what we're saying.
Amen, Deanna.
Well, but now let's get to the points.
All right. In 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, got a little mixture there. 4, 2, and 5.
Yep. And they only get a 2 because they have some red in the Ineos. Or else it would have been a 1.
Ineos saves the day.
Yeah, got a little red in there.
All right.
Oh, Andy, your
Next
favorite coming
up,
up.
The Papaya Warriors of McLaren. And boy, there's a lot of papaya on this car. As far as their test goes, I would say Next to the Ferrari, or maybe slightly behind the Ferrari, at least in terms of overall pace, I thought this was the team that probably had a really good test themselves. As a McLaren fan, I am very excited for what this car can do. I don't think they've unlocked necessarily all of it. They did not have to do a C5 run, or they didn't feel the need to do a C5 run on day 3. Just kind of a meat and potatoes type of car, able to run kind of their run plan as to what they wanted. It's going to come down to, I think, tenths and little bits here and there. It's a James Key designed car. I'm excited about that. I think the team can do a lot this year. I do think I'm hopeful and confident that they can win races, but I think there's a lot of teams, at least 3 or 4 teams this year, that I think can definitely win races this year. So it's going to be a tough competition, but I think they're up for it. But I was impressed with what I saw. 3 days of testing, no reliability issues that I could see, and solid running. And a couple of days where they were actually near the top of the timesheet. So that also helps as well.
Yeah, definitely a fan of the McLaren. I love orange. I always have. So that helps. That shade of blue, I'm a big fan of. There's just like, it's hard for me to like verbalize what it is that's off with me, because I really do enjoy it. I rate it fairly high. But there's just little things that kind of don't mesh well with me, I guess. I'm thinking maybe there's too much black. Maybe I'm kind of wishing that there was a little bit more of that blue, but also less of the blue in other spots, if that makes sense. Like the rear wing, I wish it wasn't all blue, maybe the sides to be black. But then other places, I'd rather see less of the black and more of the orange and blue. But overall, I think it looked pretty good. I thought testing-wise, they looked pretty strong. Got a lot of laps in there. So I'm expecting another Ferrari-McLaren battle. I just hope that it's battles for wins and not just the last step of the podium this year. Yep. And I think that'll be really exciting for me and you, Andy. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I do like the papaya, and I thought what they did a really good job of was they really hyped up the launch of all of their cars, which is pretty cool. So it was this event that launched this whole brand for the year, and that was I thought they did a good job with that. I think it was their Indy car that looked
probably Pato's
car that looked I thought looked great. So whatever it was didn't necessarily translate, but then when I saw it on the track, it looks pretty mean on the track. It looks aggressive. Because I didn't know if I liked the blue at all. I didn't think I liked that light blue, the way they incorporated it. I just think it was the way it was incorporated into the livery. But it's pretty aggressive looking, and obviously they've got a solid package. They proved that they've got some performance, so that's always good, right? Performance will always speak louder than what the car looks like. But yeah, I thought it was just it's a car that you are happy to call. If you're a fan of McLaren, you're like, yeah, I'm cool with that car. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that's from a livery perspective, when I first saw it, my first impression was, boy, this is a little busy. I thought there was almost like too much going on. I thought maybe more of a simpler approach, the papaya with the blue or more of the gray, I thought would have worked a little bit better. But the more I see it, the more I tend to like it. When I saw it on track, or I saw their filming day when it was actually on the track and in natural light, I think the livery works a lot better than under a white rendering. I'm looking at, one is a rendering, one's the actual car. The actual car looks so much better when you actually see it on track.
Yeah, those studio lights really screw with it too, because you've got kind of like lights in a dark room and nothing's really reflecting properly, so and
you're trying to hide bits and bobs and all that other stuff too.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it doesn't necessarily do it justice, but on track, or when you actually look at the car itself minus the livery, it's very much a meat and potatoes type of car. It is one of the two cars that's gone with a pull rod versus push rod suspension in the front, so they're kind of going at it with a different philosophy. But according to what I've read about it, it's to promote aero efficiency, particularly in the slow speed corners, because that was pretty much where they tried to struggle, or where they were struggling a lot last year. So if they can rectify that, that was probably the one thing I think really holding them back. I think your top 4 teams, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull, if you're a fan of any of them, I think you got to be really excited about the prospects for this season. And I don't know what the order is necessarily at this point.
I'd agree with that.
We know who number one
Deanna's
is.
got him right in the middle. She's got him ranked 5th out of 10. She says, I absolutely hated it the first time I saw it, but it's growing on me. Easily the brightest car, and that orange looked awesome in person on the Indy cars. As we mentioned, she's down in St. Petersburg for their season opener today, and she is still TBD on the shade of blue. So she's got it right down the middle of the road there. What seems to like the direction they're going with that orange.
All right, to the scoring in 3, 2, 1.
I actually have it higher than you, Andy. That's like my low 8. I think Alfa Romeo I like better than the McLaren, so it slots in like right behind it. That was an 8, a 5. What was it
8, 7, and 5.
8.75.
All right, we're a bit down here.
All right, moving on.
What we got next?
Red Bull.
Can we just input our livery conversation from last year for this? Or
pretty much. The originality portion of the program will not be fulfilled by Red Bull because if you hadn't seen a Red Bull before, this is what they look like. All the way back
this
to
is what they all look like.
Yes. Since they've gone to the matte finish, this is what they look like. The only big change is the Oracle on the side pods. And by the way, they got $500 million.
Yeah, they did.
That's B with a billion. From Oracle to put their name on the car. So cost cap be damned, I guess, if you're Red Bull. They will find some way to spend the money. In terms of their test, I think their most innovative part was the side pods. I mean, you could definitely tell that Adrian Newey was unleashed and said, go do what it is you go do. So they were the headliners of the first day in terms of just design. It's still kind of interesting that I've seen whenever they had a problem during the test, it was always when Sergio Perez was driving the car. And I know it's the same car that Max Verstappen was driving, but it was just kind of, I don't know, weird.
I think they test more with Sergio.
I tend to agree.
I think that they play around with Sergio a lot more.
Yes, exactly.
Or
they
with
also
the second driver.
Yeah. They ran Sergio out in the wet conditions. They did not run Verstappen in the wet conditions on day 3. Sergio was not exactly happy with that. He necessarily doesn't particularly like wet conditions anyway. But yeah, I think it's solid. I think it was they're quick. They haven't fallen down the pecking order that I can see. So, like I said before, the top 4 teams I think are all in that discussion and looking really good at this point.
Yeah. Agreed.
I agree with that. Yeah, it looks the same, but I am a big fan of it. So I don't really rate them high, but I do enjoy the livery. Yeah, I mean, really, like you said, the only big difference is the Oracle on the side. It kind of pushed up the Red Bull part a little bit. So that kind of looks a little bit jumbled. But I mean, if they want to pay me $500 million, I'll tattoo a big old Oracle right along my body or something. So I mean, they are swimming in it thanks to that deal. So they're not that they had any money problems, but they're definitely not going to have any money problems anytime soon. So
for sure,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and focus on performance over the paint job, I guess. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and then they also go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's a discussion for another episode, but there are some interesting places where some of these F1 teams are spending some of their extra dollars and putting some of their extra personnel, and that would be in a different sport. America's Cup yachting. There are 3 F1 teams with links to America's Cup syndicates going on right now. And arrow is arrow, whether it's on the water or on land. So a topic for another day, but something I definitely want to get into. But
excellent.
I do when I see the Oracle, I wonder where that's going.
America's Cup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We talk about consistency, or we talk about like originality, and I think they just won the drivers' championship last year. So why change it? Also, this is the scheme that won. If we're selling this to a new sponsor, why would we want to change that? We want to give them what they know and love, and you don't have to try to upsell it or pitch it like this is the crazy cool thing we're going to do. Like, no, this is what we're going to do. Here's last year's car. Imagine your logo on the side of it. Done deal. It's a winning car. And, Oracle's a client of mine. So I've had some, conversations and whatnot. And like, they've been super excited about this they've been with Red Bull for a few years already, but this extended partnership has just gotten people at Oracle even more excited, which is cool. But to the point of like consistency, it's hard because trying to judge based on originality and then understanding that they're, like me personally, I like a little bit of consistency. I think they nailed the consistency, obviously. But it's because I think it works because, hey, they're winners, right? If you're in last place and you've got the same livery every year, you've got nothing to get excited about for your sponsors. You've got nothing to get excited for your fans. So you're constantly having to change, right? It's like we see that in every sport, right? Sports that are constantly changing managers or constantly changing personnel because they have to when they're at the bottom. But when you're at the top, it's like just go with what works. This is how it, this is how we will succeed. And so for that, I give them a lot of credit for. And to Adrian Newey's, the Adrian Newey point, like his philosophy very much is give me regulations and I will find every way to make sure I can take advantage of everything that's not written. Like he looks at what's not written. And I think he's going to prove that this year that, where his value is. And he already has with a few things, like you mentioned, the side pods. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they develop that car throughout the year.
Yeah, I thought Ted Kravitz said it really good when he said, all of the innovative ideas that he had seen or heard bandied about amongst the different teams, they're all on this car. Mm-hmm. So the only question that I have is, does it all mesh together? Because if it does, look out.
Yep.
Because they're definitely trying everything that they can. They're not leaving any stone unturned with the car design. For sure. When you actually saw the real thing, it turned some heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Deanna. She's got Red Bull ranked 4th out of 10. She's saying old, reliable. After seeing it in person last year, it became my favorite livery to see in the flesh. The red and yellow looks so much more vibrant than it does on TV and different from anything else on the grid. So she seems to be a pretty big fan, likes the continuity of it.
All right, to the scoring in 3, 2, and 1.
6, 6, and an 8.
Yeah, the only reason I got it as low as that is because it's not original, but I think, Vincenzo, to your point, I get it. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
And then mine probably would have been a 6 if there wasn't so much red in it.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
If I was giving it a letter grade, I'd probably give it like a C+, comfortably passing, good to go.
Yeah. But it's going to be fast on track, and that's likely what's the only thing that matters to anybody involved in that car.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. The final car on our docket tonight is the Doralton Capital-owned Williams F1 team. Their tests, relatively solid, I think, overall. They did do a fair amount of running. They did show some interesting qualifying pace. They did run some softer tires on day 3, which led them to kind of go up in the timesheets. So I think there is pace in the car. I think what they are more worried about is consistency and overall race pace. We saw it kind of with George Russell last year. They could qualify the car. They could sometimes get into Q3, but that pace would fade very much late. I still think that's kind of an issue for them. In terms of the livery itself, it's a bit, actually, I would say understated. It's definitely a darker blue than what we're kind of traditionally used to. They've kind of gotten rid of whatever the design thing on the back pods were last year. Overall, I think Williams, they are just looking to make steps. I think they may have done that, but that's kind of yet to be seen. It's kind of they're, I think, one of the teams I think that we're still very much kind of in the unknown category at this point.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's fair overall from their testing performance. They made it there on time with a car to run, so that is good. That is very good for Williams. For the livery, this one's kind of the opposite of some of the other ones that I wasn't a fan of at first, and it grew on me. This one's a little bit of the opposite. The first render pics, like the cool in front of like a wind tunnel shots that we're looking at, that looks pretty cool to me. I liked it at first. Then I saw the pictures on track, and the blue didn't translate right into sunlight as compared to the professional lighting and probably some of the Photoshop and touching up things. So it kind of lost some points with me there. Because at first I liked that shade of blue, and there's like two different shades of like the dark, like kind of like a deep, like a royal blue, and then even like a lighter blue in there in some accents. So it kind of lost some of its luster for me. I don't mind looking at it. So I don't want to say I dislike it, but it definitely lost some points from that initial like, ooh, that looks good. And I was like, does it though? I don't know.
It was a top 3 livery for me before I saw it on track.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a gorgeous car, in a vacuum, which I think literally we're looking at it in the studio shots, right? I was like, this is a nice looking car. Everything about it looked really good. But then on track and in the sunlight, there's no contrast. It feels like it's so dark. There's nothing that gives it, it's hard to, there's nowhere to pick it off the track. Like when you're looking at a car on the black surface, you want to be able to pick it off. And for some reason, or not for some reason, obviously we know it's just very dark. There's nothing about it that gave me that. So it's all, but it is a good looking car. Like I would totally buy a model of that and put it on a shelf and say like, that's a nice looking car. Doesn't fit when it's on a black track. That maybe a little more white, a little more of some red, or even that lighter blue would have definitely helped any car here. But even some of that lighter blue would have helped a lot. Some white.
Yeah. I mean, I agree on the off track versus the on track. It doesn't look like the same car. No. Even just the front wing. I mean, we're looking at one of the renderings. The front nose looks very flat. In reality, it's much more curvy. And there's just not a lot of character to it. You look at that, you compare that against a Ferrari where it's character all over the place, and you've got this, which looks, it may work. I mean, the concept could definitely work. It could be very aero efficient. But there's just not a lot there. And then the color scheme, it doesn't translate to natural sunlight very well. And if it doesn't look good in Spain, I don't know where it's going to look good at. It looks more purple than anything. And that was not a color that I was expecting to associate with Williams.
Yeah. They also, I mean, just for like a sponsor perspective, there's Duracell on the side. And I mean, obviously Doralton, but creatives will tell you this anytime. When you give me an open blank canvas, oftentimes that's the worst way to create, where it's like, oh yeah, you have no rules. Just go for it. Do whatever you want. And it's like, wait a minute. I need constraints here. Give me something to work, which is why I think like the BWT on the Alpine worked, because it's like, okay, you have to work with the pink. Now make our colors work with it. With Williams, it looks like, okay, there was no like guidelines. Yeah. It's just kind of like, go for it. And I actually thought when Duracell signed on that we might see some more like copper on.
Oh, I was praying for a copper topped, something.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that would just work.
I was like, man, so you just got the Duracell badge and it was white markup on black with the Duracell, so that was underwhelming. But you're right. I mean, you're looking at it in that studio shot, looking down the wind tunnel with the starburst in the back there. It's like, it looks a lot lighter blue than what it ends up on track. So, hey, I don't know. They're probably going to end up being in last place anyway. So that's my take.
Well,
fair enough.
I
think of a couple of other teams
100%.
that might be worse.
100%.
I can think of one for sure.
For some reason, like...
Oh, right. We're not doing one team. I forgot.
Yeah. For some reason, like, it's happened a couple times now where, like, I'll read an article about Williams or watch a quick video on him or something, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, shit. They got Alex Albon going to Williams. Like, for some reason, even though I was an Albon guy when he was in Formula One a couple seasons ago, it's just it's been a weird thing just to comment on Williams so far this preseason. It's just like I keep forgetting Albon's there, and then I think about him like I'm actually kind of excited to see what he's going to do in that seat. And then I guess we'll see if Latifi's got anything in him worth staying in Formula One past this year. So there's definitely things to keep an eye on at Williams, which is another thing, step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean they're not the laughing stock. I mean they're going to be, the respect level will go up. They've got two drivers for sure, and Albon, who is very highly rated. Latifi's going to have some pressure on him this year. He's going to kind of produce. Otherwise, they're just going to let his contract run out and find somebody better. So that will be an interesting dynamic as the season goes on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So Deanna's got them ranked 7 out of 10. She says not bad, but pretty bland. So pretty concise there with her feelings for the Williams. And I am ready as well.
I am ready.
Who wants to be a number he's not used yet?
I was, but never mind. We'll just go with what I got in front of me because it's the only thing I can find. So 3, 2, 1.
I
was looking for my 5. I couldn't find it.
Oh, of course.
We could have had.
But
we'll now this is no longer scientific, Andy.
Yeah.
It's all gone to shit. I have kept up with the averages, though, so I do have a winner.
All right. Let's start from the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can go all the way from the bottom here. So
there you go.
We're starting with ninth place.
Yes.
Well, so yeah,
10th with our incomplete is Haas.
So we'll go to 9th place on the grid. Goes to Mercedes with an average of only 3.66.
Wow.
So not a good effort there.
Nice.
I think that's more a comment. That's more a comment on when you go away from the black and the black works more than anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we're nailing them for that. So then next, it's a tie ahead of them. So that would be a tie for 7th. Is Alfa Tauri and Williams with 5.33 as an average for them. And then just above them, looks like it's another tie. This one between McLaren and RedBull at 6.66 points apiece. So nothing ominous there. Next up, above them, we've got Alpine with a straight 7 for their average. Nice. Just above them in 3rd place, otherwise known as the bronze position, there's the Alfa Romeo, the late entry, with 8.33 average. So pretty strong score there. Not quite as strong as the 2nd place or silver winning team would be Aston Martin with an average of 9.33. And of course, the winner, which hopefully I say a lot this year on this podcast, but the winner is Ferrari with an average score of 9.66. And I say
beautiful
because it is really, really, really good looking.
If this was the grid this year, if this is how the standings finished, I would not be mad.
I wouldn't even be a little mad.
No, not even. I'd be laughing.
I'd be a little worried about our boy John, but besides that, I'm pretty happy with the outcome.
Ferrari from Aston Martin from Alpine.
Yeah.
Or from Alfa Romeo.
Aston Martin stuff a lot more often, I tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us basically to the end of our rundown. Vincenzo, thank you for providing your perspective.
Thanks for having me again.
Your business acumen on, some of the inside information on what goes into some of these livery designs, because I've said it many times, it's based on sponsors. It's based on who gives you money. And like you said, sometimes you give somebody a blank canvas and that's more of a hindrance than a good thing. So
for sure,
we appreciate it. Just remind us one more time, where can we find you?
Just at Vincenzo Landino on Twitter. It's where you can communicate, DM, yell at me if you choose, whatever it might be. But that's where I'm most active during the day, during the week, and then especially during the Formula One season.
Yep. Thank you again for coming on, Vincenzo. Appreciate it. Always appreciate your perspective, and just
thank you, guys.
Agree with it a lot of the times. That makes it pretty easy for me. We'd love to have you back on sometime during the season, hopefully after a Ferrari win. But since they're going to win a bunch, it should be hard to time that out.
Hey, I'll be on every week then, I guess.
And I cannot wait to have to download TikTok just to watch you dance after.
They got to win the Miami GP for that to happen. Yeah. That's
I'll download it for one day and watch one video, and then I'll give
it. Perfect. We'll make the dance happen.
Yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, good episode. Glad to talk about some liveries, little lighthearted stuff. Next week we start getting a little bit more into the nitty gritty, don't we, Andy?
Yeah, we've got F1 for beginners. And then the week after that is the second test, which will get very heavy into lap times and sector times and tire compounds and all that other good stuff. Just as a thing, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave your comments on if we're way off in your view, or if you agree with our assessment of the grid in terms of liveries. This is all very subjective, so we do want to hear from as many people as we can.
You meant scientific.
Yeah.
Oh, we're totally scientific.
Highly scientific.
I've got a logo on my scores. That means it's legit.
Highly scientific.
This is scientifically subjective.
Yes, exactly.
Science. Yay, science.
So for Vincenzo, for James, unfortunately John couldn't be here with us tonight, but he's been here in spirit. It's been Andy. Deanna should be back next week as well. Hopefully we'll be podcast at full strength. As always, may all your laps be fast.